Hey guys, so today we're going to be turning this top into this lovely set. This is the perfect thrift flip for long sleeve shirts. I feel like I find so many of these that have such cute print, but they're kind of grandma-y. And this is a perfect beginner project. There's not a lot of structure involved, and using stretch knits, you don't really have to worry about the fit of things so much. And I am gonna show you guys a pattern I'm using for this. You can just screenshot it or whatever. I made this pattern from a Brandy Melville tank top that I had years ago, so it's pretty much just a size small, but you can always adjust it to your size. For this project, all you're gonna need is a long sleeve stretchy top and fold over elastic. You don't really have to use this. You could also just like hem the bolero and make your own straps, but I want to use this to kind of make the bolero like nice and tight. So let's get started.
So here's what the tank top part looks like. That's a top I made with this pattern. I believe it's modeled after the Brandy Melville Amara tank top, but you can take a screenshot of this pattern. I will say it's ultra cropped, like pretty much a bra, so I'm adding some extra length to the bottom. You can add as much or as little length as you want. The first thing I'm doing is just putting this in my dress form. If you don't have one, that's okay, but I am just like cutting it freehand to kind of look like a bolero. So I'm cutting it straight across the back and then kind of just like bringing it in on the shoulders. You don't want to cut off too much on the shoulders, otherwise it's gonna be hard to keep on, so it's always better to cut off less than more. And then I just wanted to even it out because I was super jagged, so I took my rotary cutter and just cleaned up all those edges, made sure that it was even. And then I had a little bit of elastic trim on my shirt. I tried to seam rip it and it was ruining the fabric, so I just cut it off because I'm gonna be adding this fold over elastic anyways. So for this, I just pin the beginning of it. I do this under the armpit so you can't see the seam. You can pin the whole thing on it, but honestly, I always just freehand my fold over elastic because you want to pull on it a little bit so the elastic doesn't get all stretched out and like wavy, because then it's not even going to serve its purpose of like being tight. So I just find freehanding it is the best. Also, you generally use a stretch stitch on stretch knits, but as you can see, I'm using my straight stitch and it still has a ton of stretch. That's what I find with my machine. So just test it out before you're using it, because you can always use a zigzag to make sure it still stretches. I can't talk enough about how much I love fold over elastic. It's like bias tape for stretchy fabric, and it makes everything look so clean, and it's such an easy way to hem your projects. Like if you don't have a cover stitch machine, I think using fold over elastic makes your stuff look so professional, and yeah, I just love it. So to finish it off, I cut off how much stretch elastic I needed to be able to go over the place I started, and then I sewed over it and backstitch so that doesn't come off. And the stuff I use doesn't fray, so I don't need to finish it off or anything. And this is how the bolero looks like. So now we are going to take the rest of our fabric to start on that tank top that we're gonna need the pattern for. So you're gonna cut out like the two boob pieces, and you wanna make sure they're opposites. So like when you go to cut out the second piece, you're gonna flip it over like I'm doing here, and then the front piece and the back piece. I added a little extra length, as you can see. So I have marked where you should add your seam allowances and everything, but you're gonna see I'm cutting off that seam allowance. It's like on the boob part, because right here I'm actually adding fold over elastic, so I didn't have to hem those boob pieces. So if you're going to fold it over and hem, you still need to add extra fabric like I marked on the pattern. But whenever you use bias tape or fold over elastic, you don't need to add a seam allowance because you're not like taking any of the fabric away, if that makes sense. So now you can see the two boob pieces are supposed to overlap, but we're gonna pin those to the front piece. So you want to keep them overlapping and just kind of pin it, or I'm using clips, get it all together. And now I'm taking it over to the serger. If you don't have a serger, you can use a zigzag stitch or a stretch stitch to sew this, but you're probably not going to want to use a straight stitch on this one, so it can stretch. So now we have the front done. You can see it's totally coming together, and you're gonna take your back panel, put it right sides together, and then just sew your side seams using a serger or a zigzag stitch, whatever you got. I obviously got a little lazy at the end of recording this, so after I sewed my two side seams, I just stayed at my serger and serged the bottom edge. I decided not to hem it, probably also because I was being lazy, but if you want to hem it at this point, just fold it over and hem it using a zigzag stitch or a cover stitch. So now we're gonna move on to the straps. So I'm taking my fold over elastic and I'm just sewing it to itself for about 10 inches. You might want to add a little extra, especially if you're a bigger size. Now, don't move anything, grab your top, and you're gonna sandwich it in between that elastic that you've already been sewing. So it's just gonna be like a continuous strap. I love making tops like this. It's so easy and literally just so clean. So now you can see I'm pulling it a little bit so we keep that tightness, because you don't want your top to be all loose and wavy looking. It's not a good look. So make sure you pull just slightly on your elastic as you go all the way around the back and then all the way up to your next strap. So here you can see I sewed all the way around and I'm back at my other strap, and I am measuring it to make sure it's also about 10 inches long. So once that strap is done, I cut it off and then I am pinning where I want the straps to go. It's about like 3 inches in from the side seam. I just went back and forth a few times so the straps don't come off, but here's how the top came out. I absolutely love it, and it is literally so flattering.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you end up making this, feel free to send me pictures on Instagram DM. I love to see your creations. If you like this video, be sure to check out my other socials and like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what video you want to see next.
Peace.